Hi, and welcome to Yin. In this class, we are all about the hips. We are going to release all around these big muscle groups so that you feel nice and relaxed and released after class. The only prop I would recommend today, except for a mat or something soft to lay on, is a bolster or a cushion of some sort, as we are going to go back and forth quite a bit. And it might be nice to have something that is a little bit higher than your mat to support you when we lay down. And we are going to start on this bolster. So when you're ready, place your lower back up against whatever you have chosen, something soft that you can lay back on. Bring the feet into butterfly and then just roll your way down onto your cushion of choice. Open up the palms to the side. Let the shoulders relax. Maybe wiggle the shoulder blades together a little bit here so that you feel that the chest is nice and open. Tuck the chin slightly down towards the chest to lengthen the back of the neck. And then let the knees drop out sideways. So we are starting the practice with opening up in the inner thighs, but also opening up in the front of the chest and across the abdomen. We are here for a few minutes to just find our breath and also allow the body to land nice and softly onto the mat. If feet in butterfly is not comfortable for you, you can bring the soles out wide, the soles of the feet out wide, and the knees together in constructive rest instead. It's also a nice release for the hips. When you have found your position of choice, just start by noticing the breath, where it lands for you naturally. See if it's a bit stuck up high in the chest. Maybe you can start to deepen it a bit, sending the inhale past the chest into the ribs, or maybe even all the way down into the belly. And just allow the shoulders to melt on either side of your cushion, and the arms being heavy down towards the ground, and the knees being heavy on either side here as well. Allowing some more space into the body. We're going to work through a pranayama called three-part breath. We will start by focusing in on the three areas of the body that we want to send the breath to. So start by focusing on the chest. So the highest part of the torso where the breath might be a bit superficial. Let's just find the breath there first. And notice the expansion of the chest with the inhale and how it slowly descends back down with the exhale, deepening the breath here. Just notice that a few times with the chest rising and descending as you breathe in and out. And I want you to start noticing now as well the side body. So at this height of the torso, it would be all the way up underneath the armpits and even up into the shoulders. So you can feel the armpits and the shoulders broadening a bit out sideways with the inhale. Rising up a bit and then releasing back down with the exhale. Just notice that a few times. And then bring your attention to the back of your body. So up high underneath the shoulder blades, the upper back. Feel how the upper back broadens when you breathe in and softens back when you breathe out. So there is a rise and fall of the chest. There is an expansion and contraction underneath the armpits and in the upper back, and there is a rise and lowering of the shoulders as well. 360 degrees of breathing here. Full expansion, like a balloon, and then full descending as well. Now keep the movements happening in the upper body, but start sending the breath further down. So we're now moving into the ribs. Start to notice how the rib cage moves upwards when you breathe in. How the front ribs sort of separate so well away from each other. And then when you exhale, how they come back down and close together. Doing that a few times. Now starting to find a breath in the side ribs. Again, feeling the expansion out sideways when you breathe in. And exhale, just notice how it all just falls into place naturally. Inhale to breathe into the side ribs, expanding out sideways. And exhale, let it come back. Find the breath in the back body here. So around the ribs where they attach to the spine. And I want you to notice a broadening of the back with the inhale and a softening with the exhale. The back broadens as you breathe in and softens back as you exhale. And then keeping that space in the ribs as you move your attention down to the lower belly. And now with the inhale, feel the belly button rising up. Really blowing off the belly like a balloon with the inhale. And then letting it descend back down. Belly button draws back down to the spine as you breathe out. Noticing that a few times. Maybe you can even feel some movement happening down towards the hip flexors. Imagining that there is breath moving all the way down into the groin and the pelvis, filling up the pelvic bowl with breath. And then softly and gently releasing that breath. Finding this movement now in the side body again. So your waist, below the ribs, in between the lowest rib and the hips. And finding that sideways expansion here. And then find a breath in the lower back as well. Imagining that the lower back can widen with the inhale and contracts back with the exhale. We're going to do this in 3 stages now that we have found all these nooks and corners of the torso to breathe into. We're going to start to fill up the torso from the bottom to the top with breath and then emptying it out from the top to the bottom. So fully exhale wherever you are. Start to breathe in from the lower belly. Fill up the pelvic bowl, the belly, the ribs, and all the way up to the chest and the shoulders. And then exhaling from the chest to the ribs, to the belly, all the way out. Inhaling from the belly into the ribs, into the chest and upper back. And exhaling from the top to the middle, to the bottom. Do this in your own pace, filling up, like you're filling up a glass of water. You fill up from the bottom until it's full all the way to the rim. And then as you empty, it empties from the top until the last drop of water at the very bottom of the glass. Do that 4 more times in your own tempo. See if you can find new little places or spaces for breath with each inhale and new places to release with the exhale. Once you finish your last breath, no rush to get there. Just come back to your neutral, spontaneous breath. Notice if there has been a shift from when you were here before we did our pranayama exercise. A shift in the breath, or a shift in the body or the mind, or maybe all three, as they are not necessarily separate, but they all connect together, and when one releases, the other two usually follows. Or vice versa, when one tenses up or gets overwhelmed or stressed, the others follow. So just notice the release that you have created for yourself in the breath, in your physical body, and also in the mind. There might be a bit more calmness felt in the thoughts here too. Then you can start really gently to just move fingers and toes, ankles and wrists. Move the elbows and the knees. You might want to stretch your legs out if they were bent. Stretch the arms overhead. Take a deep breath in. And then just come up to a seated position, however you feel like. Hug the knees into your chest, seated on your sit bones. Drop the forehead down to the knees. Hold here for a moment. Curving the spine, letting the eyes close. And then looking up, we start here with a butterfly. So we're going to move into this position with the legs again, but this time you're going to stay seated. So move the hips back in space so that the lower back can be as long as you can have it. The feet can be really close to you, they can be far away. See how you go. But I want you to find a little puff up of the chest first, and then try to move with the belly down to begin with. When you cannot go any further, start to curve the spine. Let the head drop forwards. Close the eyes. And we are not actively practicing that 3-part breath anymore, but you might still want to keep that focus. It's a great way to stay present as we move through this very slow-paced practice. It's usually pretty good to keep the or use the breath as an anchor to keep your awareness in the body, or if your thoughts take you for a ride, to bring yourself back. And just notice here if you're holding a lot of tension in your neck, can you drop the crown of your head down? If that doesn't feel comfortable, having the head just dangling in the air, you can use your cushion that you have brought with you for this practice to support the head, or any other props that feels appropriate for you to get comfortable and for you to be able to release here. See if with each exhale, the shoulders and the head can become a bit heavier, and the knees move out and down a little bit further. Even if it's just a sensation, not actually a physical movement of the body, just you feeling like you get a little bit softer and heavier with the exhale, working your way through the tension, keeping you from coming deeper into the position. Take another 3 deep breaths here, make them nice and deep. And the exhale slow and long. And then slowly rolling up the spine, come back to a seated position. We're going to move our way back onto this cushion. Bend your right leg behind you, this time for a half saddle. The left leg can stay bent here with the sole of the foot towards your inner thigh. If that's too much, stretching it out will ease up a little bit of the strain on this right thigh. And then we're going to move back. Now, if you cannot lay down on your bolster, you can stay up on your elbows. Or maybe you don't need a bolster here and you can come flat on your back. See how you go. Another variation of this pose to intensify the stretch, if it feels easy for you, is to move this left knee away from your body, so out towards the left side. You might even want to grab it with your left hand and put some weight onto that knee to come further down towards the floor. And wherever you are, close the eyes again. Let's just keep our focus internal for this class. Really focusing in on wherever you feel tension. Imagining that you can send your breath there, loosen up some of those knots, and then breathe them out. Sort of like conditioner for your muscles. For those of you that use conditioner in your hair, you sort of just put it there, and then somehow all the knots in the hair just comes out without you having to do anything, and then you rinse out the conditioner and your hair is nice and silky smooth. So if you think of your breath as a conditioner here, you send the breath to the muscles, and it sort of just does the job for you there. And imagine you can exhale the knots out and leaving the muscle fibers silky smooth. Keep using the breath as an anchor to draw you back into the sensations of the body whenever your mind drifts off. Allow yourself the time that you need to unwind the mind. It usually takes some time to actually feel like the thoughts or the busyness of the head is receding. So the practice will become just over and over again reminding yourself to come back to the breath. And then let's have 3 more deep breaths here. And then release that. Push your elbows into the floor, chin to chest, make your way back up. Before we go to the other side, we're going to come into another forward bend. So swing the right leg around. You might want to stretch it out and give it a little bit of a shake. Here, we're going to move into fire log. So stack one shin in front of the other shin. Try not to stack the ankles or to cross the ankles. Trying to bring it a little bit further in towards the shins. So the feet are about as wide as the knees. And then if you have quite open hips, you can from here stack the right leg on top of the left. And then let's move the hands back, do a little puff up of the chest again to come forwards into your forward fold, belly first. Once that's not possible anymore, start to drop the head and curve the spine over. Just allow yourself to sit with the sensations in your body, sit with the thoughts of the mind. Observe what's going on, create awareness around what your body is carrying and what your mind is pondering all day, every day. See if you can release some of the unnecessary bits. Taking 3 more deep breaths here, filling up from the bottom to the top and releasing from the top to the bottom. And then slowly move your way up and out of that position. Lean back into the hands. Stretch your legs out. Maybe give them a little shake. And we're going to move into our half saddle on the other side. Bend the left leg behind you and the right leg in. I like to sometimes grab my calf and move it out of the way here to get that bend in the knee a bit more comfortable. And then you go back as far as you can here, maybe all the way down to the bolster, or maybe all the way down to the floor. Find a similar variation to what you did on the other side, although this leg might feel a lot different, so don't expect it to be exactly the same. Just move towards as far as you can, or maybe you can even go further on this side than what you did on the other side, and that's okay. Just finding that stretch that is on the line between being sustainable and comfortable, but also a little bit uncomfortable and challenging. So we don't want to go so far that this is excruciatingly painful, but we want to make sure that we can sustain the position for a long amount of time. So that's 70% of your max, maybe. Find your own sweet spot here. And then find your breath. How slow can you keep the breath, especially out? Keeping the exhale slightly longer than the inhale. Noticing that cycle of breath entering and then leaving the body, just to enter back in again. Then take your last 3 really conscious breaths here. Scan the body for other things or tensions to release before we move into the next position. And then you can start bringing the elbows to the floor, stacking yourself back up to find your square pose or fire log on the other side. Crossing the shins, feet about as wide as the knees. I like to measure here with my arms that the feet and the knees are the same width. And then when I stack, making sure that that foot is on the knee, not down on the calf. Okay, deep breath in, lift the chest up. And then you can start to make your way forward nice and slowly until your spine curves and your head drops down. Just as we are working through uncomfortability in the body, as we are in a stretch for a very long time. So the release is quite deep and that can be uncomfortable, just or both physically in the body, but also emotionally, as very often we store tension, we store stress, trauma, unresolved issues in the body. And moving deep into stretches and releases like this can bring that to the surface. The hips usually carry unresolved trauma or unhealed past experiences that has been very unpleasant. It also stores a lot of emotion. So it's common to feel emotional or sad when, or even angry. And anger is just a manifestation of unprocessed sadness in some way, shape, or form. So it's quite common to feel those emotions when we're going deep into the hips. But the other uncomfortability we are working through here is being okay with the stillness. So we are increasingly a very busy species. We are used to rushing around, running around, doing a lot of things, multitasking. We've also been told that productivity is good. Taking things slow is being lazy. So we can feel quite uncomfortable sometimes when we are not, quote unquote, doing anything productive. And that is also a learning process. So if you feel uncomfortable in your own stillness, just know that there's a lot of growth ready to happen there. There's a lot of ease within yourself ready to flourish. This might be exactly, or is definitely exactly what you need if you are uncomfortable with stillness. Take your last 3 full breaths here. Maybe allowing yourself to come a little bit deeper into the position with each exhale. And then gently coming back up. Move the hips back. Stretch the feet forwards and give them a shake out here. Whew. From here, we're moving into a hip opener. So we're going to come into straddle, legs out wide to the side for this one. So set yourself up on your mat as you need. Sometimes it's nice to go sideways so that the heels are on the mat. I like to have the mat in front of me so I can bring my head down to something soft. So see how you go. And again, make sure that the sit bones are on the floor, that the spine can be nice and long. And this sitting upright like this might be more than enough for you, making sure that the toes are going up towards the ceiling and not falling inwards. If this is already stretching, you stay. Otherwise, similar forward fold as we have been practicing, start trying to get the belly down. And then when that doesn't work anymore, you can start to curve the spine and drop the head and shoulders forward. You might want to use your bolster as support for the head. Deep breaths here. Just remembering this doesn't have to look like anything in particular, especially it does not have to look like my straddle, which is quite deep. It doesn't matter how far you can go. What matters is how you work with the position where you're at. Working with the breath, actively working with the release of tension, and also allowing yourself to observe and create awareness of what's going on in the mind. Pay attention to where this gets uncomfortable for you. Is it physically mostly, or is it your head telling you that you're wasting time, not doing anything productive, or craving some sort of a dopamine hit from scrolling on the phone or watching a TV series? And just make the decision to stay here, regardless of how difficult it might feel. You are going to take this time for yourself and commit to this practice for as long as it lasts. That you deserve. And you deserve it even more if you don't feel like you deserve it. Take my word for it. Take your last 3 deepest, most conscious breaths so far here. Then you can start. Whenever you finish your 3 breaths, take your time to move up and out of this position. Bring the legs together, maybe give them a shake again. Moving into our last stretch, grab your bolster or cushion or wherever you have and sit on top of it. And from here, walk your hands back, maybe move the hips a little bit forward so that the lower back is supported by the bolster. And we're going to come into a passive back bend here. So once you're up on your cushion or bolster, move around a little bit. It should feel like the sacrum is supported. So it's underneath the bony part of the hip. We don't want it to feel pinchy in the lower back. So if that's the case for you, you might want to bend the knees in. If it feels okay, knees are straight, arms can come up and overhead for a full body stretch. And we are targeting here the front of the hips. Just let the body melt off on either side of the bolster. And focus in on the hip flexors. This is usually where a lot of stress manifests or gets stored, in the hip flexors and in the shoulders. If you have a very stressful everyday life, you might be a person that has very tight hip flexors as well as tight shoulders. And as a result of the tight hip flexors, the lower back will also be in quite a lot of strain. So that can end up being lower back pain. And just really imagine you can send your breath into that place in the body. Lather, lather it up with conditioner, and then breathe out all the knots as if you're rinsing it out of your hair. Take your last 3 breaths here. And then when you're ready, just bend in the knees, bring down the arms if they were all stretched. Just so you can lift the hips up and move whatever's underneath you to the side to come down flat on the back. If you have a bolster, you might want to put it under the knees. So that's gonna release the lower back, especially after a back bend. It might feel nice to have a little bit of a bend in the knees for your Shavasana. And similar to where we started the practice, palms are facing up. Move the shoulder blades together a little bit to open up in the chest. Slight tuck of the chin to lengthen the back of the neck. And we don't need any breath control here. I just want you to keep using the breath as an anchor, your natural breath, to come back to whenever you drift off into other spaces in other times. Notice the heaviness of the body on your mat, the softness that we have created from a long time of release. And imagine that you can melt the body into the mat and outwards, as if you're taking up more space in the room. Maybe here, notice your face, if there's any tension being held in the face, your forehead, eyebrows, jaw. Maybe separate the lips a little bit. Let the tongue fall off the roof of the mouth and rest in the middle of the mouth. And then take this next 3 minutes all to yourself. Try to remind yourself that this part of the practice is just as important as all the other things we've done, if not more. This is where our body gets to process all those deep releases and stretches. So allow yourself the time to yourself here. Be aware of starting to plan your day or evening or tomorrow. Just as much as you can, let yourself be in the present with yourself. I will let you know when to wake back up. your last breath here. Maybe doing that deep, full breath from the bottom to the top. Maybe a little hole at the top. You can open your mouth to release everything back out. Start to move gently into the fingers and the toes, the ankles and the wrists. With the next breath in, stretch the arms overhead, the feet long, and then curl up onto one side, up to you which way you want to roll over to, knees towards the chest. Have a moment here just to gather yourself. And then make your way up to a seated position. Cross the legs. Bring the hands to heart center. Thumbs resting on the sternum. Close down the eyes. The last time for today, just notice the expansion and the softening of the inhales and exhales. Remembering that the breath is always there, it's always with you, to come back to when you feel like you need to be more present or to ground yourself. It's also a great way to release the tension and stress in your body or in the mind. So from here, bowing the head to the fingertips in gratitude to the practice, to ourselves and to everyone else who does this practice with us all around the world. Namaste.